You have one new message. Translating. Disney and Pixar's Hoppers is now available on Disney+.
You could say that again.
Critics are calling it Pixar's funniest movie ever and a wildly entertaining ride. Blizzard Potato. It's certified fresh and verified hot.
Now we party.
This is incredible!
Wow, I am clearing the rest of the day.
Disney and Pixar's Hoppers, now available on Disney+. Rated PG.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tuned Into Tennis. I'm your host, Miles David. Today's podcast is a welcome return to the mic for me. If you haven't noticed, the podcast feed has been a little dry since February, but the tennis world has been anything but. I've been fortunate enough to attend a lot of the events that happen in the States the past several weeks as a credentialed media member, shout out to Sports Illustrated. And although I'm super grateful to get those experiences and talk to really elite athletes, it's been a balance between traveling to all of those events and keeping things updated actually on the podcast mic. But today, there's no more excuses. We're getting back into the swing of things. The tennis tour has moved from North America over on to Europe for the red clay court swing ahead of the French Open, which is the second Grand Slam of the season. And there is, of course, a lot to talk about. Joining me on this episode is Tony of the Gay Tennis Podcast. We usually have our normal banter about tennis in a group message or something like that, so putting a mic in front of the conversation just felt natural and served as a good jumping off point to get me back on the mic. Our chat went a little bit longer than expected, so we decided to slash it in two and give you guys a little more bang for your buck, if you will. So on this feed, you'll be hearing part 2 of our conversation covering where we are right now in the clay court swing, the women playing in Stuttgart, and the men competing in Barcelona plus Munich. With the first half of our convo being on the Gay Tennis Podcast feed, I'll link that episode in the description so you can go directly to it. I hope you end up enjoying our conversation. Please try to disregard or ignore a slight fan noise in the background of my audio. It does get a little warm in my studio, and I didn't quite realize it was creeping into the sound. But without further ado, let's slide into the latest podcast from Tuned Into Tennis featuring Tony of the Gay Tennis Podcast. Enjoy. Me and this microphone that I love so much have been on an interesting journey the past couple of months. But the past couple of days, I've had the pleasure of talking to a familiar friend who shares time on the mic with me in the tennis world. And that is Mr. Tony from the Gay Tennis Podcast, who will kind of help me along in filtering out what's been going on in the tennis world since I've been away from the mic, which we did part of on his show, and then this carry-on conversation that we still have, because when Tony and I start talking tennis, sometimes there just isn't a natural book into the conversation. But here I am talking too much and not even introducing Tony. So hi, Tony. Oh, wait, what'd I do? I messed it up so bad.
That's okay.
Had a perfect introduction and I messed it up.
Really
Look at that.
Introduction.
We rolled the punches.
You look great in your green. I feel very underdressed, so it's nice to see you again.
It is good to see you. It's only been the past couple of days because we talked through a little bit of Monte Carlo and had our good chits and chats about that one. But we left off, or at least I said right before we ended that part 1, which will be linked in the episode description or wherever you're listening to this at. I'll have all of that linked. But Tony and I talked a good bit about Monte Carlo, like I said. But then before we finished, I was like, we should have talked more about Stuttgart. And I feel like just in the past couple of days since we had that part 1 conversation, a lot has happened in tennis, right? Does it feel that way?
It's constant, literally. I know that's overly said, but it just really never stops. Right. Every day is something new, especially this clay court season.
And, we said this on the first half. I don't really get all jittery for the beginning of the clay court season. Like the European clay court season isn't necessarily like my BFF. I get the vibe, and you said verbatim, like this Stuttgart swing into Barcelona is where you feel all the feels, right? Or you feel all the feels.
I just love the Monte Carlo into Stuttgart event, those 2 weeks, because I feel like you get one of the best ATP tournaments leading into one of historically the best WTA tournaments. I'm not exactly sure this year's WTA Stuttgart is living up to some of the history that it has there, but it hasn't been bad. And historically, I love these first 2 tournaments. It's kind of like the official kickoff to the clay. People are still interested. It's not like a couple months in where it's raining and cold in Roland Garros and you're kind of ready to get to the grass.
Yeah, I mean, Roland Garros does have some hot and kind of sticky days-ish. I'm trying to brighten up my scope.
I'm sorry.
Here,
well, I mean, here's the thing. I really think Rome is a beautiful tournament to look at. Paris can be good, but it's when the players start putting on their long sleeved shirts and their pants. That's when you start to lose me. Tennis should not be played in cold weather. It's one of my weird thoughts. But yeah, so as long as the weather's nice in Paris, it's a great tournament.
That's more the weather going on in Munich, the ATP 500 tournament that Ben Shelton and Alexander Zverev are doing well in. But we'll circle back around to Munich. But we're going to stay in Germany for right now and talk about this Tony's much anticipated Stuttgart Open, which has kind of had like a stutter step vibe throughout the week. Like there's been some good days where I'm like, okay, Stuttgart is thriving. And then ironically, there's been a whole day where nothing happened because apparently Stuttgart and German laws, German state laws have some kind of rule about sporting events being held on Good Friday, and we are in like the weekend of Easter Sunday. So, you know, shout out to everybody that celebrates Easter. I guess I kind of do. Do you, Tony? I don't know if that's like a thing.
You know, I used to go home to my parents for Easter. As I've gotten older, it's really just kind of become another Sunday. I like to do something for myself. Atlanta does do drag races for Easter where drag queens go out and do various activities revolving around Easter, and that's always a good time if you want to day drink on a Sunday. But I don't even do that much anymore, so I'm not huge into Easter. But I will say I would have loved to have the day off on Friday, like these WTA ladies. They had it nice. I mean, I was feeling a little bit like Kim Kardashian, honey. Like nobody wants to get their ass up and work anymore. I'm like, damn, I got to get up and work. These ladies get a nice break in the middle of the tournament. So I was happy for them.
Literally can cross their legs. Yeah. Literally crossing their legs on a Friday. It was a little awkward because I guess the way it was explained to me, like on my Twitter profile, people that when I asked about it, because I was just so kind of taken aback, they were like, oh, well, it's never been this late in April before. And like that's something that would traditionally happen, but the tournament doesn't really like navigate this far into April, or Easter isn't this deep into April. I don't know the logistics of it. I just know that we are at the semifinal stage of Stuttgart. And just in today, like as we record this, a lot has been happening. I mean, let's just run with the semifinalists that we have already. We have Sabalenka versus Paolini, and I believe Sabalenka is the number 1 seed. Yes, she should be because she's the number 1 player in the world. And we have another, should I say, 1 fave of yours or 2 faves of yours are in the second semifinal?
Okay, so here is the thing. I feel like I am now the leader of the Katerina Alexandrova fan club, and I'm very proud of that. I've been getting a lot of messages. Okay. Obviously, I do feel like Yelena Ostapenko, along with Danielle Collins, is a bit of the mascot for the Gay Tennis Podcast, just because she has such a big following in that community. But here's the reason why I love Alexandrova, because I love a player who can have a super high peak. And so there are times where I'm watching Alexandrova with her like laser flat ground strokes and serve. And when she's flowing and playing well, it literally looks like she's the best player on earth. Yet she's never made it past the 4th round of a slam. She's only made the 4th round 1 time at Wimbledon. Her other slam results are 3rd round or worse. And so it always feels like she plays great. And every time I randomly watch her, she plays amazing. But it's always at some random tournament that no one is really that interested in or doesn't mean all that much.
Like Seoul.
Like exactly. I'm sure she thrives on the fall swing. You know what I mean? And even she had a good tournament last week in Charleston, and she has a good week here again. And it's like, these are good tournaments, but these aren't where you want to be peaking, right? So I just have this thing where I'm now like, I think she needs someone like me to come out there and turn her out and make her realize that if she played like this at slams, she could legitimately be a contender. I think she's just like one level of confidence away from being really a top player. And she's now, I believe, around 30. So, listen, I'm past 30. I'm not trying to be ageist or anything, but I'm just saying, like, if she's going to do it, she needs to get on it. So I am now leading the charge of getting me or someone like me on her team to just turn her out and, get her maybe a high pony and start turning things out come the first week of
Do you
slams.
think? Do you think she needs just like a jolt of that kind of self-confidence? Because she finds herself in the semifinals of a WTA 500, which is not necessarily a stage that she's unfamiliar with. I believe she won a 500 like the week after Australia already this year, indoors.
The week after Australia. I'm shocked to hear what a time. That's where everybody wants to win a title, is the week after the Australian Open, right?
Yes, everybody is clamoring to get their hands on the Lynn's 500 title. Yes, that's what they're absolutely doing that. But I just think it's interesting that you look at who she beat this week already. She beat Mira Andreeva in straight sets, walloped Pegula in straight sets with the first set bagel, I do believe. Did you watch any of those matches?
I watched some of the Pegula match because she had lost to Pegula in a really tough match in Charleston. And I thought she played great. From what I saw, she looked really good. She was hitting her spots. The thing about her is it's not straight power. She has angles. I do think Jess Pegula was probably not at her best given the scoreline. But what I saw, she looked great there. The problem is when she gets into these bigger matches at slams. I remember watching her play Raducanu earlier this year in Australia. One of the worst matches. Do not go back and watch it. But it's her forehand and her serve. She could not get them in. And there's something about slams, the cadence of it or the pressure or something where her game just isn't clicking. So I feel like this is the longest I've ever spoken about Alexandrova. So I appreciate you giving me this platform to do so. But it's always the first thing I'm looking at is like, is this going to be the time Alexandrova breaks through, or is it ever going to happen? So we'll see. I don't see it happening at Roland Garros, but I'd love to see it.
Well, her opponent in the semifinals is Jelena Ostapenko, and I feel like they share a little bit of the same energy of you never quite know when it's going to happen unless, for Ostapenko, you put Iga Swiatek in the draw in front of her, and then all of a sudden she realizes what she needs to do to be a really good tennis player and give Iga Swiatek all kinds of hell. So that semifinal matchup between Ostapenko and Alexandrova could be special, or it could be an error fest, and I'm kind of going to be sad and thrilled to watch either side of it. But we should spend some time, as much time as we spent talking about Alexandrova, we should spend some time talking about the Ostapenko and Iga Swiatek match that wrapped up about a couple of hours ago as we record this. Is your jaw still on the floor?
No, my jaw is not on the floor. In fact, I love this semifinal, and I do think it'll be good quality. And I think all you need to do to see the inverse of Alexandrova is look at Ostapenko, because you look at Ostapenko, how she finished off her slam and how she won the Roland Garros title in 2017, how she's made these big runs. There are weeks where, Ostapenko can't find the court, but in a lot of the big time tournaments, she's had great results. She's been to the finals in Miami. She's won Roland Garros. She's been deep at Wimbledon, and here she is now 6-0 against Iga Swiatek, which is easily my favorite head-to-head currently. Was my jaw on the floor?
I actually really love it.
No, it's not, because Ostapenko just feels so confident when she's playing Iga. She doesn't seem threatened at all. And it's very funny to watch because Iga has a lot she can throw at her, and it just never seems to work.
Does Iga have a lot that she can throw at Ostapenko?
I mean, you would think so, because she has the heavy forehand. She has the great movement. So you would think that would be the type of player that would affect her. You know what I mean? Like if Iga's getting a lot of balls back, making Ostapenko hit a lot of balls, moving around the court, that's not usually a recipe for success for Ostapenko. I actually think it's a bit of like the swag factor. I think she looks at Iga. I think Ostapenko looks at Iga and is like, this girl is just not ready mentally to do this. And it boosts Ostapenko's confidence. She's like, oh, I've got her right where I want her. She doesn't come out there with like the Serena aura. You know what I mean? Or even the Sabalenka aura. Iga doesn't have that. And I think Ostapenko goes out there and is like, oh, I've got this girl right where I want her. I have the weapons. I'm just going to take her out.
Like Polish number one, Iga Swiatek, chump change.
Right.
I think it really does speak. It really does speak to the kind of, like you said, confidence that comes when you haven't lost to a player. And now Iga has lost to Ostapenko on clay courts, which is her absolute best surface, a beloved surface, hard court and grass. So when I saw that they had a potential to meet in Stuttgart, I really kind of like wanted it to happen, but I never followed up with my fantasy draft. I didn't actually like make it happen on my side. But now that it did, I'm kind of like extra fascinated because they just played a couple weeks ago in Doha, but it was on hard court, and that kind of felt like Ostapenko's domain or a bit more of it, even though Iga has done well on hard courts. I feel like on clay, even bet makers were still like, Iga should win this even with the head-to-head, and she did. And I gotta say, should I say this?
Yes, you should.
It feels, all the personal heat I've gotten as somebody who doesn't just pucker up their lips and give like Iga Swiatek all kind of praises, it feels good to see her have this issue because one, like, it's like there is a player that has this kind of kryptonite over her, so it's a fun storyline, and it's nice to see her fans squirm a little bit.
Oh yeah,
like, oh brother, what are we gonna do?
It is fun to watch them squirm, and it's fun to sit there and watch. I think the reason why I enjoy it is because it's fun to watch Ostapenko just absolutely rip return winners. There's something about when Ostapenko is locked in and really playing well and going 100 that is really fun to watch. It's why she has so many fans and why so many people are drawn to her, because she can just hit winners from anywhere, and it's fun to watch Ostapenko play well. And she always plays well against Iga, kind of like how Serena always played well against Maria. Like, there's just no way she's going out there flat for that match.
I've been thinking about like adding Ostapenko to one of my WTA players with a signature shot. Would you say that she has one of the best return of serve winners on tour?
I would say when she's clicking, she can. I would say her forehand is probably more of her signature shot, though, right? It's so good. And just, I mean, I love watching her play mix where she's just like moving the guy around like crazy and the guy can't handle her forehand.
She is a astonishing, awkward, but wonderfully attacking player all into one. So now that I've talked about her, I kind of want to see what she like does from the semifinal stage on. We've talked so much about this Alexandrova-Ostapenko match. With my luck, it might just be like 6-0, 6-2 for somebody.
Right.
I don't know.
And probably more than anyone else is going to, because I don't think people are as excited as the Ostapenko-Ego match or the other semifinal even.
Yeah, I mean, we briefly mentioned Sabalenka and Paolini getting to the semifinal stage in Stuttgart. Let's give Paolini some love, because I don't believe Paolini has been getting much love. It kind of feels like a lot of people have been waiting for the other shoe to drop with Paolini. Like, when is her ranking going to fall? She doesn't feel like a top 5 player. And this is not necessarily one of those moments in this tournament where I feel like that has been elevated, but she still has found herself into the semifinals of a tournament with the world number 1 and has a chance to potentially go further. However, the match she played today against Coco is where I kind of want to sit, because with credit to Paolini, I think the bigger thing that came out of that match is that Coco's game, to me, seems to be in a state. And I know you said on the Gay Tennis podcast several times that you like Coco, correct me if I'm wrong, that you like Coco, but watching her game can be a little bit of a walk in the jungle.
Yeah, I'll say like, I didn't see a point of this match. I was playing tennis while this happened today. And by the way, today is April 19th that we're recording, which is Maria Sharapova's birthday, who was the queen of Stuttgart for a while. So happy birthday,
3
Maria.
in a row.
And happy anniversary to Serena announcing her baby on Maria's birthday in 2017. One of the most fun times to be on tennis Twitter back in the day. So I want to give them a shout. Okay, for Coco, yeah, for me, I love Coco as a person, as a player. And when she's playing well, I still don't think she gets enough credit for how well she played in that U.S. Open final against Sabalenka. A lot of people kind of say like, oh, Sabalenka fell off after she won the first set. I didn't agree with that. I thought Coco played out of her mind. Just the counter punching and the way she hung in points and found her chances for winners. Like, I was blown away by Coco. The problem for me is when things go wrong with Coco, they seem to go so far off the rails. And I don't quite understand that because it feels like she should be able to pull things back a little bit. But like I have seen some of the toughest matches I've ever seen on court have involved Coco. So I didn't watch this match today, so I don't know if today was a rough day for her or if Paolini was just really playing well. But a lot of times when Coco loses, it can be a tough watch. But I still sit there and watch pretty much everyone. I love watching Coco.
She's a fun watch as much as it is because you realize you're like watching a young phenom at work and you never really know when it's going to elevate. It's just unfortunately it feels like her throttles have kind of been like they've been misfiring, and I feel like she's doing this delicate balance right now in her game of knowing that there's technical things that she may need to improve while also carrying that thought process to the court in a place where you need to be reactive and just confident in what you do. And it's hard to be fully in a reactive kind of repetitious mode to get the best out of your game when you're thinking about where to hold your service grip or like your like when you when you're about to swing on that forehand, it could be a long day. And I think balancing all of that with the expectations that she has of like trying to be a Grand Slam champion again, it feels like it weighs on her a lot quicker in matches than it used to. Like she gets very like kind of like what I just did with my hand, like, oh darn it. Like 3 games into a match, and it's like kind of like I wish I could tell her relax, but then also I understand why she's not, because I too, if I came onto the court holding my forehand like that, knowing that today could be the day where it just lands in the outward box or the first box of the bleachers, it's going to be hard, you know? And then on top of that, her serve, like those 2 things are like every shot in tennis is important, but those 2 right there are such areas for improvement that she kind of has baked into her mind already. So going into a match on any level with knowing that in your head and knowing that it's not quite ironed out, we kind of see what we get with that with Coco, you know?
Yeah. And sometimes it feels like, how do I want to say this? It feels like she has those things figured out. Remember the first week of the year when she won her opening tournament and I don't think it was the toughest draw ever. But yeah, but she was crushing the serve. The forehand looked great. So that's what I mean. Sometimes it feels like you figured it out, you know, like Sabalenka had all those serving issues, but it kind of feels like, yeah, they creep up every once in a while, but for the most part, she figured them out and now she's moving on. With Coco, it's like, okay, we thought she figured a lot of this out, but we still revert back on certain times. I still think she can rely on her athletic ability and speed to get through a lot of matches. Maybe against Paolini, like I said, I didn't see it, but maybe against Paolini, she's very fast and very athletic too. So she wasn't able to just rely on that if today was an off day. But yeah, we'll see. I still think Paolini's serve can really be attacked. And I don't know if maybe Coco wasn't able to do that, but that's where I would be like taking cover if I was Paolini for playing Sabalenka in the semis. That's where we'll really see how that match will go, is if Paolini can hold serve.
Can you believe like Sabalenka is the girl to like beat in tennis now? Like it just, every time I start thinking about that, I think about speaking of Sharapova, how we spoke about her a little bit ago, it's her birthday. Remember that not Sabalenka, no, let me get my story straight. Sabalenka played Sharapova in a 2017 WTA final. Think about that Sabalenka and think about like the expectations people had on her and think about the Sabalenka that we're seeing now, who's routinely getting to semifinals and finals of major events and feels like she should be the one holding the trophy, because after all the names I've mentioned so far left in Stuttgart, Sabalenka, Paolini, Alexandrova, Ostapenko, Sabalenka is the most accomplished of all of them at every single level of the tour. And at one point, that may have not been true. Like in 2018, Ostapenko had a slam and Sabalenka didn't. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy to think about, you know?
It is. And I mean, she has, I think, obviously more slams than them combined, because I think the other 3 only have the one singles, at least in singles. But yeah, it is. It's crazy how consistent she is and just how much of a lead she had. After I saw that Iga lost, I went and looked at her rankings and just see like on the live rankings where she's landing. And Sabalenka is a couple thousand points ahead, a whole slam win ahead of Iga. Maybe that's why Iga's like had that weird, you know, Instagram post and is a little off her rocker, because she not off her rocker, like, you know, sorry, that sounded weird.
But Iga made that like triple sliding carousel post on Instagram about the whole
Yes.
Indian Wells thing. I forgot she did that. See,
Yes.
tennis moves so quickly.
I know. Sorry, and I meant like shaken to
Or
a
she's
core,
not that
off of a
relevant. Sorry.
rocker. I didn't mean. I felt like that sounded weird. But anyways, that's why I think Iga is, having a bit of a moment because she's looking and she's like, wow, Sabalenka has really passed her. Like it's not a 2-woman race right now. It is Sabalenka in the field, and that is a very different feeling than it has been for quite a while on tour.
I like it.
Love it.
I think some people kind of cringe at Sabalenka a little bit because her matches can be quite loud. Like, we know that. That's like the base. But Sabalenka's cool. I'm not sure what she was doing in the Stuttgart moment. I don't know if you saw this moment, but she pulled her phone out to like take a picture of a
Mark.
And because Stuttgart apparently, it's not across the board at every single WTA or ATP event where they have electronic line calling. So at this event in Stuttgart, it's kind of old fashioned. But I didn't see the actual point that Sabalenka, gosh, I guess I'm not that tuned to the tennis. Somebody's probably thinking that right now.
Well, it just happened a few hours ago. I mean, we're pretty much like live reporting from Stuttgart at the moment, except just in our homes. But yeah, and I have
all
to
we're missing is the mic with WTA on it.
Exactly. Literally hire us, please. I mean, ain't nobody on the WTA promoting Alexandrova like I am. Let me just say that.
I know that's right.
But I'll just say, what the hell was I saying? Oh, the ball mark.
About Sabalenka and the ball mark.
The ball mark looked in. I have to say, when I don't love when players do that and freak out over one mark and it gets all in their head. But when I saw the picture online, I was like, that seemed very clearly in to me. So I was on Sabalenka's side in the end.
I think I'm on Sabalenka's side for now. She hasn't done anything to push me away. I'm still with the big babe tennis of it all, and she's okay in my book. And I have to say, Sabalenka feels like she has earned herself a Porsche because she's been to the final of Stuttgart 3 times, 2021, 2022, and 2023. So I know she wants her hands on that big shiny Porsche. She really does.
And it would be, I'm sure, hilarious watching her drive that thing around. So I'm all for it as well. I actually think these could be really fun semifinals. Like you said, hopefully the Ostapenko-Alexandrova match lives up to a good semifinal and Paolini's able to hang with Sabalenka. I mean, this could be fun. So we'll see.
Fingers crossed for a good end of Stuttgart, which will be on a Monday, by the way. Because of that Friday off, we're having a glorious Monday final. Doesn't even sound cool. Like, I don't want to. Monday Fun Day doesn't sound right. Like, why would I go to Stuttgart in an indoor arena with a cocktail on a Monday? It's just not. It's not working in my mind. But best of luck to everybody in Stuttgart.
Yes, exactly. I hope people show up for it.
I hope they do too. That tournament, as much as like the optics are great, sometimes the optics aren't, because there's the blur of like the blue overcast over the people just makes it look a little odd sometimes. I don't know how to describe that, but me and Stuttgart we're okay. We're not like BFFs. I wouldn't vote it as my favorite WTA 500, but it's not my least favorite. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I'll say about that before we move on, because I know that comment I made about Stuttgart really stuck with you. I was looking back at some of the past draws from, some of the past years of Stuttgart and how it was stacked every year. The 2013 Stuttgart was Maria Sharapova won the title. She was the defending champion. This is her draw. Her first match was against Lucy Safarova, 3 sets, who, of course, became a Roland Garros finalist. In the quarters, she played Ivanovic, who also went on to win Roland Garros in her career. In the semis, she played Kerber, a multiple-time champion. I know someone you love dearly. And
so much.
In the final, she beat Li Na, who ended up winning Roland Garros as well. So I'm like, that is what we were used to back in the day, was like every tournament or every match felt like it could be a slam final, semifinal. So again, that's why this year I'm like, well, I hope it turns out, but it hasn't quite lived up to that hype at this point.
Well, now that we've talked about it, we're going to get that much anticipated Alexandrova and Paolini final. You just watch.
Listen, I'll take it. If Alexandrova wins this title, this will probably be the biggest win of her career. I would love to see it. And I'd love to see Paolini, because you're right. I feel like I haven't talked about her much on my podcast this year. She has gotten a little bit lost in the crowd for me. So I wouldn't mind her popping back up and being even more relevant.
Go do it, Paolini. She could serve you the point padding, because Wimbledon and of course the French Open are a lot of points coming off the table for her if she doesn't back it up. So we will see how it goes for Miss Smiling Jasmine Paolini.
Yes.
Okay, let's take our thoughts not too far and stay in Germany, but go to the men's ATP 500 that's taking place in Munich this week. We are having the final set. It's set between Alexander Zverev versus Ben Shelton. Actually, before we go into Munich, it has to do with Munich, but we should probably spend a little bit of time talking about Ben Shelton himself, because I don't know if we mentioned this in part one, but he had a little bit of a moment that happened in Monte Carlo in doubles, where a moment after his doubles match with Rohan Bopana, I believe they actually made it quite far in that tournament, and it's an interesting little partnership because Rohan Bopana is like 40 and Ben Shelton is like 22.
It is funny.
Like
everything about it makes me giggle a little bit.
I like it, but Bopana kind of had to have his like daddy cap. I don't know. Bopana's definitely a daddy. I think literally and figuratively, actually.
Right. I mean, he could be someone's grandfather here in a few years, frankly.
He has it going for him. But
Right.
he kind of had to dilute a situation between Ben Shelton and opponent across the court, Vavasori, I believe, of Italy.
It was. Yep.
There was an early kind of exchange and rally in the match where Vavasori took a ball to the chest that Ben Shelton hit, and there was like the very traditional apology that Ben Shelton gave. Even Shelton's partner, Bopana, was also like, "Hey, sorry, that didn't mean to happen." And then fast forward to the end of the match, I guess Vavasori was still salty about it and kind of didn't want to shake Ben's hand, but Ben was like, "Dude, it's doubles, get over it." Like that was like one of the first points of the match almost. Why are we at the handshake now, still bringing it up? And the mics caught a lot of that interaction, and the biggest part that is kind of going viral, at least in tennis Twitter and tennis land, is Ben calling his opponent soft for kind of bringing that up on the handshake and being salty about it. I just wanted to pose this to you because we're, I don't know where we are in the Ben Shelton of it all, because Ben Shelton feels like he's a very relevant and almost always polarizing figure now on the ATP tour. But how did you feel about that specific moment in like the Ben Shelton arsenal of memes and stuff that is growing?
Yeah. It's interesting. Ben Shelton seems to be very polarizing in a lot of ways. I think he's one of the most entertaining personalities and players on tour. I understand why he rubs some people the wrong way, but excuse me, I think people like Ben Shelton are important on the tour and will grow the game and bring in new fans. So I'm all for people like Ben Shelton, and I actually really have enjoyed watching his tennis in person. And I was also on his side in this situation. I think for a true doubles player who is complaining about getting hit when you likely get hit pretty much every tournament, I would assume at some point you're getting close to being hit as a doubles player with all the serves and the quick hands and everything. I was a little bit like Vavasori. I don't know. It was a bit of an eye roll for me. I'm like, aren't you supposed to be this like top doubles guy? Like
at least top 10. Yeah.
Right. And he's, he does play with Sarah Irani. So, I mean, he surely has seen returns coming whipping at him very quickly when he's playing on court with Sarah Irani and that serve. So I was a little bit surprised, and I just felt like there must have been more to it. The conversation about Ben Shelton using the word soft, I don't normally, I would say in like the quote unquote real world, I don't love when people use the word soft. I do think there's a connotation there about kind of weakness and being a man versus being like
masculinity.
Man.
All
Yeah,
that,
exactly. Yeah. That does kind of hit a little bit weird with me. I will say Ben Shelton lifted up his shirt to show his muscles in that moment. So it was kind of like, he kind of was saying
he diluted it. He diluted it really quickly.
Right. He's like, listen, like I'm ripped and I'm strong and there's nothing soft about my body. You clearly need to get on my level in terms of being in shape. That's actually how I kind of read it. So I was more on his side. And again, like, I don't know. I kind of thought it was funny, but I do understand like that language isn't my favorite. What did you think?
Yeah, I feel similarly. Like I wasn't offended by the language at first until I kind of sat with the connotation of it of, like it's a lot of queer men can relate to being either called soft in front of their face, behind their face, or just kind of described as such if they aren't necessarily the machoist man in the building. And that's not great. It's a little toxic. But in that situation, I can see how he jumped to that term because one, the point had already passed, like well past.
Yeah.
And two, like, this is something that happens in tennis. He even said that. Ben was like, it's not a baseball I hit you with. Like, it's a tennis ball. You kept playing. And then what makes matters worse is that Vavasori went to Instagram and said that because of that incident,
can't.
he didn't name Shelton, but he said because of an incident at the early part of a match, he had to pull out from Barcelona the next week due to like some kind of rib stressor. And like,
It's a lot.
that is like I want to empathize if your rib hurts, but I really don't believe it was Ben Shelton swinging forehand that caused the rib issue for you to not play Barcelona. So to go to Instagram and do that is where I kind of was like, okay, yes, that's a little that's soft. I want to respect people's injuries, but that didn't just watching it in real time. It didn't seem like anything bad had happened. So yeah, I'm on Ben's side. I'm not on his side on all of the language he uses. I have to be clear because there is a post that unfortunately sticks with me that he made on election night. And I don't have to spend too much time on it because it's kind of if you know. But he made something to the sort of tune of like, no matter who wins, God is in control on election night. And it was like, of all the elections in the world and all the days of the world to post that wasn't great because it kind of sends off a message, if you know what I mean. So I've been kind of looking at him sideways and other people, quite frankly. I'm actually giving him a little bit more benefit of the doubt than the people I talk to in my circles. They're very much so like, I'm not rooting for Ben Shelton. And he's kind of become a polarizing figure. But I have a soft spot for lefties, which I'll kind of circle back to a little bit later on. And I've watched Ben up close. So, I'm caught in the middle.
Look, you have to choose your battles with these athletes, okay? I'm sorry, but you're not going to...
They're not moral compasses.
Right, that's not who I'm looking for, who I should vote for. I'm not looking at Ben Shelton or anyone on the ATP Tour, if I'm being honest. That's not where I look to. I look for them for inspiration for things like what they're doing on court and their athleticism.
Their calf workouts.
Their calf workouts. Hello, Lorenzo Musetti. But I will say, I also have warmed a little bit to Ben Shelton because I became such a big fan of Trinity Rodman during the Olympics. What was it in 2024 last year? I just felt like she was such a fun and electric player to watch on the field and really was a huge asset to the women winning gold for America. I don't know much about her, obviously, outside of like she's Dennis Rodman's daughter and, a few other things I've seen. I like her pink hair, so I don't know her deeply. I don't know what I'm sure she's said and done things that people are going to be screaming about, but like, I just really liked her and her energy on the field. So the fact that they're dating and I saw her in the stands, I think this week at the tournament, I don't know. It kind of is a nice story to follow for me.
I wonder what made her choose Munich, like on his schedule. Like, hey, let's pack up the bags and go to Munich.
I think that's injured. I think she's injured, and that's why.
Okay. Because based off of what I've been seeing from the tournament, you mentioned earlier, like you don't want to play tennis in long sleeve. That's what Ben's been doing.
Yes, exactly.
Ben has been he's been doing well though, because I kind of questioned when I went to Houston. At the beginning of the month, I questioned why Ben wasn't there because he was defending champion. And now that 2 weeks have passed and he's gotten 4 straight European hardcourt wins. Who am I? He's gotten 4 straight clay court wins on European soil, like leading to the French Open. That seems like a better decision now for him to skip Houston, go to Monte Carlo, and try to get that kind of clay underneath his feet. So we'll see what he does in the final. I think either way, it's a good week for him to kind of prove to himself that he can hang with. I wouldn't say it was the toughest competition in the world because it's an ATP 500. It's not 1,000 or second week of a slam, but still wins are wins. And he got 4 straight of them and finds himself in the final of a clay court event. So we'll see how that goes for Ben. And his opponent in the final is Zverev. Are some of the adjectives you use to describe Ben Shelton similar to Zverev, or am I making that up? Maybe.
I would say I have a lot more likeness to Ben Shelton than I do Alexander Zverev. Zverev, okay. I think, is much more of a true villain on tour and not a fun villain. I am obviously not a fan of his, and there's very little about him I like from obviously the off court stuff with the reports and allegations against him to really even on court. I felt like his game on court is just he's like a tall kind of pusher, which isn't my favorite type of player. And
A tusher. Is that a word? A tusher.
Exactly, a tusher. And if I want to really just expose myself here, I used to think he was at least handsome back in the day, but he's aging like milk. So I don't even really get to enjoy much on that front. So I am not a fan of Alexander Zverev. And I will just say, yeah, I mean, you were talking about Ben Shelton getting wins. Didn't he beat Cerundolo today? That's a very good clay court win.
That is a good clay court win.
So I think he is getting confidence.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying today's episode, please take a look at the episode description, support the growth of the show by grabbing a coffee from the link, and while you're at it, be sure to engage with Tuned Into Tennis on social networks. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook is where you can find us. Leave a review if you like what you're listening to so far, and let's get back to the show.
Excuse me, my allergies are just killing me here in Atlanta. But
do you think Zverev is getting confidence, unfortunately, from this run to a final in Munich?
Well, he's finally stringing together a few match wins, so I would think so. He's played well in Munich, obviously, in the past. We know last year he had that wild final that he lost to Arthur Fils. But yeah, I think he probably is. And honestly, Zverev is, I think, clearly going to go in as the favorite here. He has such a clay court pedigree. This is a big deal for Ben Shelton even to be in this final. So we'll see. I have a feeling Shelton will enjoy the atmosphere. And, you know, you would think Zverev would have a lot of crowd support. But we shall see. And I think Ben will show up and play well there. I just wonder if he's going to be able to hang, you know, over a whole match with someone who is so, you know, who's been to the Roland Garros final and nearly won it.
Will Zverev have crowd support in Munich? Not based off of what I saw come across my screen.
Okay.
And what I heard in that video.
Can you explain this? Because I didn't see this video, but I did see people talking about it and tweets about it. Was that true?
Yeah, you know it's bad when ESPN sends a direct notification to your phone about something. Yeah, literally, which is about tennis of all things. But he, in his semifinal or maybe quarterfinal match, I'm not clear on which match it was, but while he was like preparing to serve, kind of similar to what happened in Australia during his trophy presentation, when they were like, Australia stands with Sharipova. Olga, yes, I think it was Olga. Sorry for misspeaking. It was a similar incident, almost like when the crowd was at its most quiet, you could hear somebody kind of scream out something about Zverev being a wife abuser or a woman abuser, and he had a talk with the umpire to kind of like get that person out of there, or kind of, you know, exercise his frustrations about that whole situation, which is kind of wild to me because I feel like in real time I've seen the Zverev domestic violence issue and like alleged trouble of all of that go from just a tennis Twitter thing to now it actually is following him on the court. And to a certain degree, it seems like it's affecting his tennis. Like, I know he's in a final in Munich, but like at that tournament, in his home country, people are actively bringing up to his doorstep these credible allegations. So I just think it's wild how people, I guess he thought that it might die down, but unfortunately, fortunately, because we should be believing the women in this situation, it hasn't. So that makes him, on top of like being a polarizing guy for not really liking his style of play, his off-court stuff is now like really kind of trying to seep into his tennis almost more than ever has. Because I think that has to be unsettling to not know when people are going to shout out, "Hey, you abuse women," you know? Like, not that I feel bad for him, just to be clear.
That would ruin my day. I mean, it seems like that would have a negative effect on me. Yes, and by the way, I just looked it up. It was Olya and Brenda were the two names. So, but yeah, that who got yelled out in Australia. But yeah, I mean, it is clearly following him and not going anywhere. I don't know if he's going to be asked about that in press or if he just says no comment at this point. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing for good or bad, when you're at a live event and it is quiet at tennis matches, all it takes is one person. We talked a little bit about this when we talked about Serena's return to Indian Wells. It's like, I was so nervous about that because all it takes is one idiot in the crowd to boo or say something, and it ruins the experience for everyone. In this case, all it takes is one person to use their voice and scream out, and it's going to, you know, make news internationally against Zverev. So that's just something he's going to have to deal with. And I don't feel bad for him.
Yeah, because a lot of the allegations are credible and his actions don't really make it seem like such a far stretch either.
Yeah, and his
So
reaction to it is really tough too. It's like
yeah,
he kind of twists the truth when he talks about it, and
makes it
yeah,
seem like it's all a money grab and all that kind of stuff.
right, and just it's yeah. I mean, I don't know. I know it's probably he's being advised to say certain things, but it's just not a good look, and I think it wasn't a good look for the ATP for a long time. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, listen, people are going to use their voices, right? There was a huge anti-Trump rally right outside my loft today. So people are using their voices in a lot of ways.
Hey, go anti-Trump. Anytime I see any kind of Trump paraphernalia, I kind of wind up one of my middle fingers
Okay.
and give it a good roll.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
You mentioned not a good look for the ATP Tour. I think they're going to probably focus less on that Zverev match, or Zverev in general, they should, and focus more maybe on what Carlos Alcaraz and Holger Rune are doing,
Mm.
because the other ATP 500 is in Barcelona, and we have a final featuring Holger Rune and Carlos Alcaraz for the first time in a final on the ATP Tour. I don't know how much Barcelona you've watched. I've watched bits and pieces of Barcelona because there's always tennis happening. You can't watch all of it, especially in the clay court season when there's 17 events in 1 week. But I'm sure Nike and Babylon are quite pleased about that final because their boys are doing some good things. And that's two finals back to back of importance for both of them in a short span of time. So I guess it means something is happening, right?
Yeah, I think it's obviously Alcaraz is on a win streak now. He just won Monte Carlo for his first title in a while. Now he's in the final of Barcelona again, where he's had a lot of success. And I think these are tough draws. He's beating good quality players. I didn't see his win over Feast today, but from the highlights, it looked like he played a very clean match, which was obviously what I
He
think
was
most
on it.
people are looking for. Yeah, like, he's always going to have a highlight reel, but it's more like, is he going to be able to be consistent throughout and play well enough throughout to beat the top guys? And this has to be boosting his confidence and getting him where he wants to be. I mean, if he can come in already with 2 titles at the beginning of the clay court season, he'll be a huge threat moving forward. So I watched a lot of him. I watched a lot of him in Monte Carlo. I watched a little bit of him in Barcelona, but it's always fun watching Carlos kind of figure out and get to the peak of his game. So unlike Alexandrova, I think he's trying to peak in a couple, maybe a month or 6 weeks away at Roland Garros. That's where he's trying to peak, and he's certainly off to a good start.
He is, and I just feel like he has really gotten that clay beneath his shoes, similar to his compatriot and now retired Rafa Nadal. Something kind of clicks. I mean, a lot of Alcaraz's highest moments in his career have been on clay now. Roland Garros champion, Madrid champion, a Barcelona champion in the past, now a Monte Carlo champion in this year and leading that into Barcelona. Anytime people start to get really negative or start questioning where Carlos Alcaraz is going, like what is going on in his career, I kind of just sit back and look at his trophy cabinet and how large it's been able to get in just a short span of time. Like from 2022 to now, he's won a lot of major events, even through the ebbs and flows of small nagging injuries and quote unquote losses of confidence. But realistically, how much confidence can you not have if you're the reigning champion of Roland Garros and Wimbledon? The confidence has to be somewhere in there, And it's nice to see him going deep in tournaments. Not that he wasn't going deep, but it's all about the aura of Carlos Alcaraz. I feel like he lets you in, and that's the beauty of watching him play, because you can kind of get a sense of when it's going to be a show-stopping, spectacular day, and maybe when he's a little iffy on the confidence meter. But all in all, he gives you a show, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to see how awful I would be at how confident and I would be a terrorist if I was the defending Wimbledon and French Open champion. No one would want to talk to me. I would be so annoying and so confident. This is why God works the way he does. It's Easter tomorrow, but he knew to give me certain limitations because I just would be an unlikable human being. So I think, whoever it is up there who turned me out this way, I think it was for the best for society and for myself. I will also say quickly, Carlos Alcaraz is probably winning the kit game. I mean, his kit with that light purple, it just looks really good. It fits well. So it's just a good look for him all around the last few weeks.
Do you feel the same way about Holger Rune's kit? I don't, but
it doesn't. I can't even really remember it. It doesn't stand out to me, which is surprising.
from what I remember, it's the same kit he wore when he got to the finals of Indian Wells. That like chunky blue and white, kind of like a retro look. But his game isn't playing retro. Like I said at the beginning of this like conversation about those two, both of them, like Carlos and Holger, have found themselves in finals recently. Carlos, finals of Monte Carlo, finals now Barcelona. Holger Rune's in the final of Barcelona after just a couple weeks ago being in the final of Indian Wells. It feels like he's, and I want your opinion on this, obviously. Yeah. I feel like he's in the mix, but I don't know if everybody wants him in the mix. I feel like he's missing like an actual winning moment because he's been to Masters 1000 finals, he's been to 500 finals, but his trophy cabinet, compared to what I just said, like Carlos Alcaraz's trophy cabinet from 2022 moving forward, Holger Rune's has had some misses in it, you know? And I can't say that I would be totally upset if Holger Rune starts to find himself in the conversation of like going deep at Roland Garros or just going deep at slams, because he's kind of been in his own version of the wilderness the past couple of weeks and months, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and let's first of all hope that he shows up more in the final of Barcelona than he did the final at Mini Wells, because that was quick work for Holger. Yeah, it's interesting because Holger is someone who like kind of goes in and out. It's like he'll kind of disappear for a while and then he'll come back. And it's true. It is impressive he's made these two finals. I hope to see him doing well. I kind of look at him the same way, where I kind of like having him in there. It's just like a different flavor, a big personality. Something he's always giving you something to talk about, whether you like him or not. And I said Alexander Zverev is a villain in not a fun way. I think that Holger Rune is a fun villain who you might love to
villain.
Yeah, exactly, a villain. And it's just kind of like he's always doing something that might annoy you, but you kind of it keeps it interesting, you know?
He's an annoying kid that you kind of shoo away, but when you see them coming for like the first time of the day, you're like, oh, look at little Holger.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
But then he does something, you're like, okay, this is why I can only handle you in doses.
Right. It's like coworkers. It's like, it's nice to see you while we're there, but honey, once I'm at home, I'm good. Don't contact me.
I also think he has a really great game too. Like watching him play, he's not as electric as some of the other guys, but I think he's somewhere between like Jack Draper and Carlos Alcaraz on the meter of like entertainment and confidence and like swagger about the court. He's somewhere in there.
Agreed.
And hey, I kind of want him to sustain his level and not have the big drop off that he's had. Like his ranking has never completely capitulated, but where we kind of stack him in our minds, that has ebbed and flowed over the past seasons. And it would be nice to kind of have him in the conversation leading into these Grand Slams, especially Roland Garros, because he's been successful there, getting to the quarters twice, I believe. So Holger, I don't know if you have a fan in me, but something's there.
Well, and the ATP could use some fresh new faces playing well, or some just top players playing well. You know, I am really hoping Arthur Fils has a big clay court swing and a good Roland Garros. They could use Holger Rune playing well as well, because some of these other men out here it's just not it. It's not happening. I mean, looking at you, Medvedev, looking at you, even Casper Ruud a little bit. Like, where are y'all?
Yeah, when Alex de Minaur is playing better than your beloved Tsitsipas, and maybe something's going on. That's no shade to de Minaur. It's just that, you know...
on clay, you wouldn't expect that.
You wouldn't expect it, and de Minaur he's flashy in his own right because he's so damn speedy. But when you think of like electric must-watch players, de Minaur isn't necessarily the first three names you think of with respect to him. So there's that. Speaking of respect... Let's go over to Rouen, France, where there was a WTA 250, and kind of wrap up where the headlines have been for the past couple of days. Because this one has been indeed a headline in Rouen, which is an indoor 250, kind of similar to Stuttgart, but with, being generous here, a lesser developed field. Like, there wasn't anybody like Elina Svitolina was the number one seed. That should give you a context. She's actually in the final. It's Svitolina versus Danilovic for the final tomorrow. So good luck there. But the main headlines has to do with the 21-year-old French wild card Lois. It's either Lois or Louise. Lois.
I think it's Lois. Yeah.
And I believe you pronounce her last name Beauchamp. Lois Beauchamp.
Yeah, something like that. I think it was Lois Busson something like that.
Lois Busson.
Don't forget when Trump got elected in 2016, I took one semester of French because I was saying I was going to leave France, and I never did. I couldn't quite pull the Rosie O'Donnell. So yeah, it's been almost 10 years, but yes, I think that's right. Lois Busson, something like that.
Well, she's gonna maybe have to be a name that we get more familiar with, because she had a moment in her relatively routine 6-Love 6-3 defeat of Harriet Dart in the opening round. But the moment that has really got people talking is when Harriet Dart, who was not only salty because she was losing the match, apparently was salty because there was an alleged odor coming from her opponent, and she made the umpire aware of that. And actually, you know who else? You know who made us aware of that moment on the internet?
Who?
I'm talking to her. You.
Oh.
You, Tony.
Yeah.
I didn't see that clip until the Gay Tennis Podcast posted it.
Let me tell you, I was one of the many. I think I was one of the early adapters. I wish I could remember who it was on Twitter. I gave them credit, but I can't remember who it was on Twitter who had put it out. And I just happened to come across it really early on and was sharing it everywhere. But it got picked up by just about everyone. And it's because it was some of the nastiest work you'll ever see on a tennis court. The way if you haven't seen the video, which you can go to at the Gay Tennis Pod on Instagram, but you see Lois walking past, and she's kind of over getting ready to start play, and Harriet Dart is getting up out of her chair and goes over to the umpire and says, "Can you ask her to wear deodorant because she smells?" And then there's a little bit that I find inaudible. I can't tell exactly. And then Harriet Dart turns around back to the umpire one last time and says, "She smells really bad." And it was that really bad that hit me in a weird way. I'm like, that is so unnecessary to turn back around and say it so loud we can hear it again. Really bad. I'm like, girl, that is just, I'm sorry. I know we've had some crazy things said on court, but that would be something that I would not get over quickly if I was Lois. I thought that was just nasty.
It was so nasty and was so rude. Shout out to Nene.
Yes, exactly.
Is it bad that I'm laughing throughout the whole scenario? I don't think I'd be laughing, obviously, if I was the person accused of being stinky. But
not stinky.
It's stinky. I would want, whether they were a competitor or not, I would want somebody to tell me if my BO, it doesn't, just for the record, if my BO was acting a little weird that day. I'd rather be told than not told. From that perspective is why I'm like giggling a little bit, because it's kind of funny, and I've never heard that kind of interaction on the tour. And on top of that, it just screams saltiness from this Harriet Dart, who, if you research enough, if you know, Harriet has kind of had some moments where she's been a little less than friendly on the court. I don't want to put the moniker of being like a mean girl on her, but people have said that. They've said it.
I'm sorry, but if you're calling your opponent stinky on court and behind her back to a line judge and asking an umpire, because that's the thing. It's one thing to be like, girl, you smell, or she smells a little bit, but to ask the umpire to ask your opponent to put on deodorant is absolutely bananas, and something that we should not just brush over. It's hilarious. Yes. Now, did I laugh? Of course. Did I watch the clip? I don't know how many views I have on Instagram for this, but at least half of them are from me, because I watched this video so many times. It is hilarious. And it's kind of like the fun drama that you like to see. It's like on a reality show when, like you said, the Nene, so nasty, so rude. That whole story was so funny about, Kimura is across the street. Like, it's fun drama, right? And this is fun. But I'm telling you, if that was me, I wouldn't find it very funny, and we would be having issues. But, I'm sure we'll get into it. The response and what has happened afterwards has even made the story better. I mean, so Harriet Dart does this. It goes all over, the place online. She then, after getting dragged, releases kind of a version of a notes apology on Instagram, right? Where she puts an apology on her story.
Press release.
Yes, exactly. The 2025 version of a press release. Apologizes. But Lois Busson also showed that she has such a good sense of humor, because then she kind of someone photoshops a Dove product into her hand And she posts that on her Instagram stories and tags Dove, and kind of saying like, I guess I need this Dove product because I smell, which to me just shows a level of humor that you don't normally get from tennis players. I really enjoyed it, and it's gone even further. Dove ended up responding and saying that what did they say? Oh, it smells like confidence.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's just like it's turned from a very small tournament, like you very politely said, it was a lesser field. I mean, that's like saying I have a lesser serve than Roger Federer, but like it is a much, I think she's ranked around 300. For her to be getting, Instagram reposted by Dove, a massive brand, like it's just funny that this story has really taken off. I've enjoyed every second of it.
I want to see the Dove package or like the little press on thing on her shoulder next time she plays. She deserves that. I mean, She did go on to win that match, and I believe she won one more after that. So that was in a lot of different ways. That was like her coming out party. And for me, she is now. I'm going to have to work on pronouncing her name, but the arm, track, and like bicep game that Miss Beauchamp has going on, Sakari who?
No,
because. Actually, I believe she got further in that tournament than Sakari did. So Sakari is just really spiraling.
Well, and I'm sure her ranking is going to pass Sakari's here at some point. I mean, listen, the way Sakari is tanking, when I know it's so easy to dunk on poor Maria. I don't like to jump on the bandwagon too much, but listen, one of them's getting wins somewhere.
Yeah, and it's not Sakari, unfortunately. Maybe Madrid and Rome is where she can find some success, but she didn't find it.
Dinara will be back. Dinara will be there. So who knows?
That was a nice part of Stuttgart, was seeing Dinara in the coaching corner of Diana Schneider, who hasn't been playing well herself. So hopefully some Safina, she won Rome and Madrid, rolls off on Diana Schneider. I don't know.
I just hope, just for the story's sake, that she wins one of them. It would just be too funny.
I want Diana Schneider to win a whole Grand Slam so Safina can know a little bit of what that feels like.
That is. You know what? You might as well also say she smells bad too. That is where that hits hard. That hits hard. I know that would be very sweet if she ended up winning a slam. And I think again, Schneider is kind of like some of the men we've been talking about that just brings a different flavor with the look and the game. So I'd be down for that as well.
I'd be here for it. I think there is a lot to be like looking forward to because Schneider is one of those young players that, like you never know what's going to happen in their career because it seems like they have so much ahead of them. Somebody even younger than her, while we were just mentioning names that we kind of struggled and butchered, there was an even longer name that gave me more opportunities to butcher it, and I'm going to work on. But she is a 19-year-old lefty who represents France, but is actually from Southeast Africa, Madagascar. And her name, bear with me, folks, is Tiensoa Sarah Rocco Tamanga Rajanoa or Rajaona. I tried. I genuinely tried. And I believe she just goes as Sarah for short, but her full name is what I just staggered through. And she made her first WTA quarterfinal on her first WTA level tour debut tournament. Like this was her first WTA tournament and she won a couple matches and got to the quarterfinals. And like being from, like I said, Southeast Africa, how many tennis players can we name if we really try our best to like think of from that region of the world? Not
well,
many.
based on your pronunciation, I think the answer is still 0, but I think we're getting there.
Wait, no, I might be throwing just crazy things out of there. But do you remember a really, really tall woman by the name of Akagul Amandoradova or something like that? I'm not making this up, but I feel like I'm the only person that remembers her playing on the WTA tour.
I do not remember her. But either way, shout out to this new new player. I actually have not seen her, or I didn't see any of that. So listen, I love any story where people are coming and have to overcome a lot to come make their stamp. I'll certainly be checking her out, and I will, I guess, attempt to say her name. I know you did a lot better than I ever would, but hopefully we have a few years to practice before we really have to take note of her too much. But yeah, that's exciting.
I always take the theory that if we can start saying Martina Navratilova off the tip of our tongues, then we can work our way towards any kind of name.
And why would we want to?
Why would we want to say that name particularly more than once? Who knows? I like saying your name, Tony.
Oh, yeah.
And I like when you're on the podcast.
A little easier. Yes,
Tony Higgins comes a little easier. Oh, I shouldn't say comes a little easier. Oh, I walked right into it.
It is Saturday. It is Saturday. Listen.
It is Saturday, and it's been a great Saturday because you are on the podcast once again, and it's been fun having you, like it always is.
Miles, it is always so fun talking to you. I love coming on here, and I love having you kind of run the show. You're so good at this, and I know I've said it many times, but it is so fun to watch you flourish right now and all the things you're accomplishing and doing. It's very well deserved. So I'm really happy to be here and happy to come back whenever.
You are always welcome, and thanks for those nice words. I really am trying my best to kind of make this passion my career. So we're going to keep putting one foot in front of the other when it comes to that. And I guess we're going to keep putting one foot in front of the other when it comes to the play season, because I promised everybody I'm going to get back on this mic and do my thing consistently. And the road to Roland Garros is well on its way. So I guess I got some time behind this mic to tune into tennis, and I'm not mad about it. So thank you, Tony, for tuning into tennis with me. Actually, I'm going to put our first half of our conversation in the episode description or YouTube description, however you're watching this, to make sure you can get a full overview of what me and Tony have talked about over the past couple of days. Make sure to go over to the Gay Tennis Podcast, subscribe, leave a review, engage with them on socials, also engage across socials, and leave a review if you like this episode as well. I don't often ask, but it helps spread the news of the show. So if you liked our collab, let us know. And I think that's all I have for today. I think.
Yeah, and if you didn't like it, you don't have to let us know. We're good. We'll take those 5-star reviews only. Okay, we're doing a lot over here. No, I really appreciate it. Thanks, only. Miles. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for having me, Miles.
Thanks, everybody. Talk to you in the next episode. Take care.